joining us right now, Stephen Yates, always our friend. Mega congratulations to him on his wonderful union because he was married over the weekend.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dana.
I
Appreciate
don't know if you like me putting stuff out like that, but I just wanted to offer our congratulations. So congratulations to you and your lovely bride. Everybody knows Stephen, foreign policy expert, ran Radio Free Asia, and was an advisor to former VP Dick Cheney. You can find him on Twitter at YatesComs. So I have a million questions about China and Taiwan, but I kind of rolled my eyes when I was reading a headline about how Vladimir Putin was now complaining to the international media as to everyone's picking on Russia. And it's how mean is everyone to pick on Russia? Russia's not doing anything to anyone. We're just building up troops because we're worried about Ukraine maybe picking on us. Nobody buys this. Why even say it? Why even waste the energy?
I guess he does it because some people do buy it. It's ridiculous on its face, but our foreign policy establishment has been ridiculous for a very, very long time. I mean, look, we have our diplomats going out there saying, oh, we've made things very, very clear. Yeah, we know you made it very clear. You gave up missile defense. You gave up a pipeline. You gave. You've made it very clear. You've rolled out the doormat and now they're treating you like one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but for Putin to go out there and say, oh, no, I have a boo-boo on my owie. I feel very sad for poor little Putin.
Poor Putin. Oh, goodness. And of course, now the administration, I guess this was from their phone call that no one actually got to hear or see. They didn't do any kind of video sprays. They had nobody in there to take stills. All we got was from Russia's angle. But I guess now the suggestion is to encourage Ukraine to maybe give some contested land to Russia to make everything be okay. Well, why would Russia even need to have a buildup or invade if you're going to have the international world at large tell Ukraine to go ahead and cede some sovereign territory?
Well, it's outrageous that that would even be an idea. And of course, it's more outrageous that said press corps and diplomatic community was raking President Trump over the coals for having a private meeting with Vladimir Putin. But at least when they came out of that meeting, both of them faced the press for a good long while, answering a lot of questions. And so, if you're going to try to pretend like you're celebrating democracy and democracy is back, maybe be a little transparent. I'm not in love with a lot of the press, but I admire the people that have the moxie to get up and stand there and take the shots and give back. It's kind of called America and freedom. And it's a good thing. You might not like it, but that ugly little thing is the best thing the world's got going. And you know who hates it? The autocrats. So don't be one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, switching gears, because there's a number of headlines with China. There's some of the financial stuff because they had the Evergrande, the big Chinese asset company that officially defaulted last week. But then we had this weird thing that happened with Biden's, what was it, the democracy, whatever, something, the summit for democracy, sorry. Reuters had reported about the very interesting case of this map that disappeared. So what I guess it was a telemeeting. And so they had the Taiwanese minister who was presenting open countries that were recognizing and appreciative of civil liberties, as you are well aware, for those joining us. And so it was Audrey Tang. She's the Taiwanese digital minister. So she's showing a map of countries that are in Asia, and this country's open, this country's closed. Of course, China and North Korea were red. Taiwan was green, signaling that it was open. But the fact that it was a different color on the map from China meant that it was apart from China. And apparently, right as she was doing this, the feed cut. And then when they rejoined, it was just a screenshot and her title. And then they had put on a disclaimer after that these are not the official positions of the U.S. government. I mean, they act like people who are terrified of China. I wanted to get your response to this.
Well, it's sort of like the Putin exchange. It's ridiculous. And it's also just profoundly hypocritical and undermining of the theme they said they were there to celebrate. Now, what was Audrey Tang's violation? She showed a slide that was not part of the preordained and pre-cleared slides. It's almost like she's put up something that was offensive or disinformation. And so they're saving the free world by taking this down. But who does this kind of thing? Actually, every single day in China, when there's a news story that goes critical or is not approved by the propaganda department, the signal goes down. You get the rainbow bars or something else. So it just really, the Chinese have to be sitting back like a Cheshire cat just smiling and laughing at the fools the White House made of this
Yeah.
entire exercise. Now, good on them to include Taiwan. Most countries got to have their elected leadership participate, but we couldn't do that, not with Taiwan, because even though they have a democratically elected president who's female, and there's not a ton of those across Asia, can't have that because it's too provocative for sensitive Xi. Just like Vladimir Putin, he might also have a boo-boo, and he's very, very sensitive
Yeah.
and scared of a librarian-looking president in democratically elected Taiwan. And then, what I can't believe, in this era of wokeness, Audrey is a wonderful human being who I'm pretty sure went through a transition. And I thought we weren't supposed to be censoring and degrading the dignity and rights of people who've gone through this transformation in life.
That's actually
So
an
shame on
interesting
the White
point.
House for engaging in that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting point. Well, and then two, how much longer are we going to keep this, I think, a strategic ambiguity position on whether or not we're going to kind of, we're going to recognize Taiwan, but not really. We tiptoe around it. I mean, we all kind of, I mean, from a non-government official's perspective, I look at it, I'm like, well, okay, we kind of already do sort of recognize them as being sovereign from China, but we don't say it. And that, like, acknowledging that, what is China going to do to that? I mean, are they actually going to interpret that as like some sort of hostile military move if we acknowledge that, hey, they had elections and everybody there voted? That's not make-believe. I mean, when does that whole strategic ambiguity thing end? And what purpose, how can it still serve any kind of good purpose for the U.S.?
Well, it's hard for me to talk seriously about something that never should have existed because it's not real. When you have a government saying that they need to unify with another territory, by definition, they have conceded that they don't have it. They don't control it. They aspire to that. And we have engaged in this disinformation campaign from the Communist Party saying, well, we want to reunify and they belong to us. Well, which is it? Number one, you never had it, so you can't anything with it. But if you need to unify, you don't have it. And so for now, we're going to recognize that they have what they have, you have what you have. If you want to unify with them, we think that's kind of a silly and bad idea because you suck. But if you want to work it out with them, hey, as long as you do it peacefully and with the consent of the Taiwan people, we're not going to stand in the way. But if you're going to do it otherwise, we're going to help them as much as we choose to, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. And that, I think, is what normal deterrence would be.
And I wish that we had that position because it's infuriating. Of course, there's some other countries that are coming on doing that diplomatic boycott. Japan kind of is sort of somewhat leaning towards maybe kind of looking at it. It's weird. They're very hesitant, which they weren't hesitant when they had one of their deputies go off on a Chinese official, a year ago.
That was awesome.
That was amazing. I mean, I love that. I mean, there was passion. So the United States, and I know a handful of other countries are doing this diplomatic boycott. I just don't, it escapes me as to why it's just that. But I wanted to ask you about Japan's kind of not meek, but tepid sort of position there. What does that say to you about how Japan's feeling about all of this?
Well, Japan is a very different kind of country. Most people remember that we had Pearl Harbor Day not that long back, that we were attacked by them and we ended up nuking them. And after all of that was said and done, all the horror and travesty that the greatest generation lived through and all of that, we helped rebuild Japan. It is a modern democracy, but we often don't treat it like a normal nation. And it still has a constitution that we, in part, or maybe in total, wrote for them. And so they don't get treated like a normal nation. And so every once in a while, there is national pride and well-deserved, I think, self-respect on the part of the Japanese that say, wait, we're a modern, wealthy, humane, responsible power, and we want to say what we think. And they do that every once in a while. But there's decades of muscle memory that say, maybe we need to be careful. We need to wait for our big partner, the U.S., to sort of let us know where the foul line is, because we don't want to go past the foul line. And so there's a little bit of duality with Japan on that. In reality, though, I think when it comes to something like Taiwan, there's a century of relationship there. They're going to stand by the people of Taiwan. And frankly, the Taiwan people are better off deepening that partnership than worrying too much about fickle America.
I would agree with that. Last question, talking with Stephen Yates at Yates Comms on Twitter. BlackRock now endorsed Hong Kong traded Chinese companies' policy requiring their boards to seek advice on major decisions from CCP committees. BlackRock very much involved, and of course Wall Street making they love these. Consumer Research had sent out a letter to 10 U.S. governors warning everybody about BlackRock and their relationship with all of these Chinese markets and state-owned enterprises, because Wall Street loves these CCP enterprises. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because this is how deeply we are economically intertwined at this point with China.
Well, I'm a humbly and perhaps poorly educated adult. And for me, I was kind of operating under the assumption that it should be illegal for those that list on our markets to give any kind of controlling influence or any kind of deceptive, non-transparent allowances to anyone who's listing and participating in our markets. Those are the rules for everyone else, as I have been naively led to believe. But if it isn't already illegal, then our Congress, the one we choose to send back in 2022 after what we expect to be a shellacking in Obama terms, well, they better start doing stuff like this. Because if they don't, then there is no value in having a majority there, period. We lose our money, we lose the next generation's money, and we can't do simple stuff like this, like say, play by our rules or you don't get the list. And if you're going to be playing footsie with the CCP and being non-transparent about it, and we can't audit it, then you don't get to play on our turf.
Yeah, there you go. Stephen Yates, his last appearance with us this year, because we will be back in the new year. But congratulations to you, my friend. And we are so grateful that we are lucky enough to have you join us and give us your expertise, because you see it and have experienced it like nobody else. And so thank you for sharing that with all of us. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas, Dana, and thank you from Michelle as well.
Okay, take care.